silver and the amounts of shekels of silver and stuff like that.
Sorry,
okay.
I don't have any information.
It's because you said the word Google.
Oh, flipping heck, Google. Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and aBible. This is day 45, and today we're covering just number 7.
In just number 7, the princes of Israel offer wagons and oxen, meat, and various offerings for the altar.
Well, I guess, yeah, that was a fairly brief explanation, but when you're only doing one book, that'll be a big explanation. One chapter, then it will be a brief explanation, won't it?
One chapter of one book, and obviously there's quite a lot of repetition in the book because it's the 12 tribes and so on. So lots of reading, very sort of similar reading.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good to be back as well, because I feel like my beard is now the passage of time. Like yesterday I had like just the faint whispers of a beard, and now I have a full grown one, which maybe exposes that Christmas and New Year's and stuff has happened.
And they're traveling across the world.
Traveling across the world, back in Austin now, you're back in Canadian land.
I forgot one of the very important cables took up my camera, so for those of you watching, I'm on webcam rather than the DSLR, but life goes on. The important thing is I managed to smuggle the classic blue pen, though very much mistimed the timing of when I expected the episodes to be released, because before I left, my parents were like, "Oh, I saw you found the blue pen and you're taking it home." I was like, "Oh crap, yeah, that's okay, please." So yeah, but hey, it made it home, so I'm excited.
My favorite thing I brought back from England was just Robinson's fruit squash. Hard to get here.
It's so good as well, isn't it?
It's really good.
Usually I bring back cheese and bacon.
Oh, do you not? Canadian bacon's all right, no?
It sucks, man. No offense, Canada.
Oh,
but it's just streaky bacon. You don't get proper decent chunky bits of bacon with real meat on it. You just get the stringy fatty stuff, which is still bacon in it at the end of the day, but
yeah,
it's just not proper bacon.
No. Shall we segue from bacon into a Jewish holy text?
Yeah, why not? Makes sense.
So my first thought is Moses did not give any of the oxen to the Kohathites because they were to carry on their shoulders the holy things which they were responsible. So that's Numbers 7, 9.
Which seems a bit harsh if you don't read into it, doesn't it?
It does seem super harsh. When I first read it, I just was like, poor Kohathites, why does everyone else get the oxen and the carts? What did they do wrong? But it actually, then obviously we discussed this off camera a bit. One of the recurring themes in the Bible obviously is that classic phrase of like, with great power comes great responsibility. And I pieced this together just quickly before we recorded, right? Like, the ultimate power is God, and through Christ, he then had to show the ultimate responsibility as well by bearing the sins of the world. And it is this hierarchy. The more power you have, the more responsibility generally you have.
Yeah,
which is cool. So the reason that they were not allowed oxen or carts is because they were to carry the holiest, most sacred articles. They carried the candlesticks, the altar table, the ark itself, right?
Yeah.
And so they couldn't possibly risk damaging that on a cart with oxen.
Yeah.
So they had to shoulder that burden. But at the same time, they have that great responsibility, but from that great ultimately power that they get to see and touch and hold the things that belong in the Holy of Holies, which a lot of people would never really get to see and touch.
Yeah, it's such an honor when you actually think about it. So yeah, kind of makes sense, really. And you were chatting as well briefly about how the various oh boy, it's been a while, isn't it? The sharing out, for want of a better term, of who gets how many oxen and stuff like that. But you sort of were looking into it, and it's based on what they're actually taking as well, eh?
Yes. So the Meraris got 4 carts and 8 oxen, and that's because they had heavy burden. They had transporting the boards and the pillars of the tabernacle. So this is a big undertaking. It's not like the Kohathites are just there, like, lugging stuff and everyone else is just having a great time or anything. They're all struggling. But yeah, so the Kohathite, the Merari's got a bit more because of that. And then the Gershons, all they had to do was carry around the fabrics, which I honestly do think would be my job if I could swing it. You know, you'd have the Kohathites on one end, Holy of Holies, everything on their shoulders. You'd have the Meraris with their more oxen, and then there'd just be me with a little wheelbarrow with a couple of linens in it, just happy as Larry, just like, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, fair.
So,
but on the basis that the wall was made out of linen, because it could be a soft barrier, like I'm sure they're packing a fair bit of weight as well. It's not like a cheap Primark, like,
no,
you know, little flimsy thing. It's probably got some girth to it as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you've just made me very upset because I realized I didn't get to go to Primark while I was back in London.
Neither did I. Disappointed.
It's a real shame. That is a shame. For about £5, I could have redone my entire wardrobe.
Exactly.
But never mind.
Well, I wanted to jump in. Firstly, actually, I wanted to throw back to, it was a couple of days ago when we were chatting about if anything has been stolen, you have to give it back and 5% more. And I was chatting with Melody's dad today about it, and he was saying that actually that ties in so perfectly with the New Testament, and just when you meet Jesus, that's the kind of thing that can change your life with that respect, because he actually referenced Zacchaeus, which obviously Jesus sort of found him hiding up in a big old tree, and he was the chief tax collector. And after one encounter with Jesus, he says, actually, you know what, I'll give back 4 times what I have taken over and above from people, which just gives that whole weight to actually, you know, when you encounter God for real, it'll change you, right?
Yes,
and it's quite cool. So I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love for you to tell us more about the value of the shekels as well, mate.
Oh, well, how convenient, because I did quite a bit of looking into this. In fact, when I brought across my show notes for today, I was like, oh, I got a load of notes. Turns out I just had Googled and then copy and pasted about the shekel and the sanctuary shekel, because when you're reading through it, and it depends, I suppose, which translation you're in, sometimes it gives you a more modern explanation of how much stuff's worth or dates and all that stuff. But when it's talking about, you know, silver and the amounts of shekels of silver and stuff like that,
I don't have any information.
It's because you said the word Google.
Oh, flipping at Google.
He's so temperamental. Anyway, we'll just say G from now on.
Big G. Well, that could be good as well.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Anyway, so when we're talking about the shekels of silver and how much that's worth, I wanted to get an idea of actually what we're looking at for that. And effectively, it was a load of notes. It ended up getting quite diluted. Not diluted, convoluted, I think. I'm trying to say magnanimous. I appreciate the video you sent me with magnanimous in the other day, by the way. Which is like the ultimate inside joke for those of you listening, and we're probably never going to explain it, so whatever. Anyway,
I'm not sure it's explainable, but we probably should. I'm sure we should at least try and finish our explanation of the shekels then.
This episode, I apologize for this episode, everyone. This is our first day back of actually recording, and we are really struggling. I guess it was good we only had 1 chapter to do. Anyway, so effectively, we're talking about 130 shekels and 30 shekels of silver and silver dishes, and how much would that actually be worth today? And long story short, there was quite a lot in there, but it seems as though a sanctuary shekel would be worth around about $600 in today's market, US dollars, that is. And so when you're talking about the amount of stuff and the amount of shekels that are needed and having to given across, this is a sizable sum of money. And again, it just sort of points towards the wealth and the growth of the Israelites as a nation. So yeah, there's that. Got it out in the end. Then I also wanted to mention as well, I just looked through the Apologetics Bible, and it's explaining really how a lot of this stuff is repeated again and again and again. And the reason it's been repeated so much is because it's each tribe has to give an even amount to each other of the sacrifices. And so it's repeated again and again just to say this is what was given by each tribe, I guess it was written down. Well, we've managed to filibuster our way to 10 minutes there, so I appreciate you all for sticking with us. Any questions, visit the Facebook page 2 Brits and a Bible,
and please consider liking and subscribing to help spread the word of God. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, that was all right, wasn't it?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was all right. I'd say it was bang average, but we got there.